My guest today is Jodi Katz, who's been a respected voice in the beauty and wellness industry for 20 years. 15 of those years was as a founder and creative director of Base Beauty Creative Agency, whose holistic, integrated approach to marketing high-growth brands has revolutionized the industry and taken companies owned by the likes of Colgate, Church & Dwight, and Estee Lauder to unprecedented levels of sales and cultural impact. In today's episode, Jodi and I speak with you about her new book, Facing the Seduction of Success, Inspiring Stories on Leading in Business While Living Your Life, which provides checks and balances to help readers reassess what success means to them, as well as provide strategic tips to harness their focus and purpose. Welcome to Lifeology.
Thank you so much. I love that intro. There's a lot of words there. You delivered it beautifully.
Well, thank you. That's funny. I always have to practice this several times beforehand. So when I do it, quote, effortlessly, I'm like, it's a lot of work. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you coming back. My viewers and listeners don't know this, but we had a fantastic interview about a month ago, and unfortunately some technical stuff on our end happened. So the second time is going to be a charm. So thanks for being a big support with us today. Now, you have done so many things. And so what I really liked when I got the pitch was how you started one way in life and were studying for something different. And then you found your way. And then all of a sudden you are this fantastic person that you are. So walk us through your journey of how you first, when you were in college, and how things kind of switched for you and you moved into the beauty industry.
Thanks for asking that question, because it doesn't start with the book. This isn't the first thing you do, you know, like it's,
I know, right?
it wasn't even on the list, but it's interesting how you get here. I really liked pop culture. I wasn't one of those people in college who knew what she wanted to be when she grew up, but I found my way into advertising and I thought, oh, this is cool. But culturally, the company is very suit and tie and hierarchical. And I just, I wasn't really made for that. And I just sort of went on this journey, and I kind of envisioned myself with this backpack, and I'm just popping in experiences and learning in that backpack as I move along. I was not loyal to companies very much. I was, I guess very much that new, that kind of Gen Z employee, that we've been meeting, just sort of on a journey. And willing to see what comes next. So I had jobs in the inception of social media, the inception of websites, like digital, like everything, the Y2K, like I've been there for that, traditional advertising, marketing. And eventually I found my way to the beauty industry as a creative. And I thought, oh, this is cool. Like I can do this. I like this. This makes sense to me. And ever since that first gig, which was writing catalog copy for Avon and the Bliss Spa. So ever since that, many, many years ago, I've been focused on the beauty and wellness industries and really building impactful marketing.
Wow. When you started writing the beauty, did you realize how much of self-help comes along with that?
Well, you're always in service to the reader, right? So this is a generous industry, I would say. There's an opportunity to educate. There's an opportunity to be empathetic, right? That's all built into the work if it's good, right? The work that's not great is very brand first or brand only, but that wasn't my vibe. I never, really thought that that's the way to go, because as a customer, I want to feel invited into the brand. So it all started, back in the days of catalog, when, catalog was king. And you really wanted to romance the customer and make them feel seen and give them more information than they started out with before they opened to your page.
Wow. And as you evolved into your career, and I think I asked you this the last time, what's different from who you are today versus your younger self? So what's the same and what's different, rather?
Well, I'm a lot more at ease. I have a lot more confidence. I definitely understand who I am and know when things feel great and know when things feel off. But if you went back in time and met the 20-something-year-old me, I really wasn't in tune to my emotions. I didn't understand feelings. I didn't really allow myself to have them. So that doesn't sound like a problem in my career, but that's like, it's a very holistic thing, right? Understanding how your body responds. So I think I was just sort of on autopilot for many years until I started to want better for myself and to really understand who I am and how to feel like more whole.
Yeah. It's always interesting how, even in my career, for you had to create this experience. You had to write this copy in a way that really moved the reader. And then if you're struggling in your own self to really evolve that. So sometimes we do give more to other people, other things. And I'm glad you're able to take that step back and say, okay, I really good at my job. Let me take that time of introspection and to get myself more balanced. So, even my career as well, many people can say, oh, people go become a therapist because they're working on themselves. But the whole point is learning how to give out when you're supposed to, and also learning how to keep for yourself to be able to grow and develop. Because as we know, if we give out too much, that's where burnout happens.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say that there was a script in my mind. There wasn't a plan of action. There wasn't a run of show. This is all sort of by accident. One by one, things would happen in my life where I just wanted better for myself. So I put myself on a journey. I did the hard work. Where it was going to land, I had no idea. But I knew that in that moment, I wanted better. So that's what I went after.
When you decided to write the book, Facing the Seduction of Success, Inspiring Stories and Leading in Business While Living Your Life, what made you write that?
Oh my God. We've done over 200 podcast episodes at Where Brains Meet Beauty podcast. And the whole show is about career journey and life journey. So I get to have one-on-one interviews with leaders in the beauty and wellness industry, and they would share the most incredibly impactful wisdom with me. And my audience for the podcast is very niche, right? It's all people in my industry. So after 200 episodes, it was time to look at all this incredible wisdom and say, these are not just solutions for my industry. These are helpful wisdom nuggets for anybody moving through any part of their career. So we really wanted to package up all these insights in a way that people outside of our industry could utilize. And we created the book in a kind of a snackable way where you can just turn to a page and get inspiration that day, or a contemplative thought, and try to reset yourself.
Wow. With all the people that you've listened to, and they're all fantastic, was there one specific lesson that really stood out to you from one of your guests?
Oh my God, there's so many, but what I'm going to do this experiment with you, James. I just opened, like I said, I just opened to a page because the universe will give me the gift. Yes. So, here's a good one. This is Dr. Patricia Wexler. She's a very well-known dermatologist in New York City. I'm sure you've seen her on TV. Yeah. And the quote that starts her segment is, "You have to keep evolving." And this is so true. In my business, if I stood still 15 years ago when I started it, I would not be in business right now. If I was unwilling to be nimble, unwilling to be flexible, unwilling to take risks, and just kind of redo everything to fit and service my clients better, I wouldn't have a business. So I have to keep evolving. And that's about, the types of clients we work with, the type of work we do, the type of staff we have, the way we communicate with each other, the technology tools we have, everything has to keep evolving. Otherwise, if you're standing still, you're not doing the job.
Yeah. I think piggyback on that as well is to be I'm the CEO of my company. It sounds like you are as well. I'm sure other people are CEOs or management in their companies too. But I think sometimes as leaders, we can think, well, if I have to ask someone how to do something or get more information about something, then all of a sudden I'm not a leader because I have to ask for help. And so, it's interesting that the evolution of becoming a leader is you have to learn from someone, you have to learn from something. And so it's learning to put that ego down and to decrease that, to say, I want to learn. And so then you can pick and choose what makes sense for you for your company.
I love hiring experts. I have this expertise, but it's very narrow. So, that's what I get to do. I get to spend my time with really smart people. And my team at this point, this is hard work to get here, but at this point, my leadership team knows way more about how to do this work than I do. And that is a thrill. It's a dream come true, right? That I'm able to have such talent on the team. They're so robust and their talent is so relevant. So I embrace that. It makes me so happy. And that's what I want to keep building on, being surrounded by people who have done this better than I can ever do it, and can teach their teams to do it even better.
I love that. I was reading some of the things that you sent, and one thing you really talk about is how to build a business that fits your needs and not necessarily the needs of others, their other expectations. Tell me more about that.
Sure. Well, I actually started my agency, Base Beauty, based on my personal need. I wanted to be a mom, and I looked around at the corporation I was working at long before I was even pregnant, and thought, I'm not going to be able to be the mom I want to be and work here. So that wasn't even a conversation I had with HR or a conversation with my boss. I just made that decision, right? I looked at the evidence around me and thought, this won't be right. So I need to craft something for myself, right? If I want to work and I want to be the mom I want to be, I'm going to have to figure this out on my own. So that was the decision I made. The decision to start my business was not based on like creating a certain amount of revenue or scaling at a certain rate or getting a certain type of client. It was very personal, and it was rooted in how am I going to find my joy, right? When I've started to grow a family. So that's the barometer. That's what I measure against every day. Am I having joy in my work, right? Even through the challenges, they are joyful at this point, right? Because I know after every challenge, every kind of way that we're stretched, there's something amazing at the other side. So I look forward to those moments, but I root everything in this idea of creating this flexible, nimble opportunity for me to be joyful as I learn and do this great work. Other people might have different barometers, and they see their path to success through a different lens. And what's important in the book and on my podcast is that this is a judgment-free zone, right? I certainly have met many people on my show where money was the barometer, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And that's what they're working every day and every night, toiling towards. And they get there. So I'm just curious about how people move through the day. I'm so curious about how they put their phone down at night. I'm so curious about how they deal with those feelings when like stuff feels kind of yucky in their work day, and how they navigate through it.
How do you really create that work-life balance when it comes to you started your company because you wanted to be a fantastic mother, which congratulations. But you moved around in such a way and you had to figure that out. So how do you create that work-life balance? Because sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not.
Well, I think because I'm a business owner, there's a different perspective here. My kids and my husband, they're part of the company, right? They're not like, doing the work on a daily basis, but they're part of the growth. My kids are very involved in, when we move one office to another, packing up boxes and, helping me with things. They ask a lot of questions. They're super curious about my team and like getting to know different team members. So it's a family business in that sense. In an emotional sense, it's a family business. So I don't feel like I need to separate work from the family, because we can talk about it together. I'm also in a fascinating industry. I'm in beauty and wellness marketing. Like, it's super fun. It's all around us. So that's one thing. And the other thing is I really look deep inside myself about what's important to me and sensing when things are missing. So I have this this picture that comes to my mind of buckets, like rain buckets or something. And on each bucket is a label. And those labels represent the things that are important to me today. So that could be work, spontaneous time with my kids, date time with my husband, fitness. I love Bravo reality TV. So there's a Bravo bucket. And if I have that kind of feeling where I'm unsettled or uncomfortable or feeling a little blue, I close my eyes and think about which bucket feels like it's a little empty. Which one do I need to fill up? So sometimes it's just like, leave me alone. I want to watch Bravo, and that's going to fill my bucket up, and that's fine. Sometimes it's doing something spontaneous and fun with the kids, like going to an amusement park or going on a fun hike or something like that. Sometimes it's, I haven't been to the gym. I haven't moved my body in a certain way. I need to fill that bucket up. So I just have started to really listen to my gut about what's missing and realize that I have the opportunity to fill it. So do I have the opportunity to fill that bucket right now on a Thursday? No, but I can make a plan to fill it up on the weekend. Maybe it's filling it up, a few weeks from now, but I can take an action that helps me get to the goal, which is to fill up that bucket.
I like how you slow everything down and have that internal, that take that inventory to say, what am I experiencing right now? And so your methodology, which I really like, is the buckets, to sit there and feel that and go through each bucket to say which one feels empty. I think that is something where sometimes we get so overwhelmed and so busy that we forget that it is important to check in with yourself. And so I always tell people, when you get to work at noon, at 5 o'clock, set an alarm on your phone and check in with yourself. So you can do this with two different scales. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is the highest, the best I feel, and 1 is the worst. So from a scale of 1 to 10 for my emotions, what's my emotionality? If I'm at a 4, okay, well, when I check in again, am I still at a 4? And why am I at a 4? And then the other scale is 1 to 10. How am I physically feeling? So if I wake up and I don't feel well, it doesn't mean it has to affect my mood. Or if I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, it doesn't mean that I can't do all the physical responsibilities I need to do. So learning how to check in with yourself all the time gives the person ability to put things behind them, thinking, well, if I was frustrated with someone 3 hours ago, why am I still upset? And so it's learning how to let things go, but to really listen to yourself, like you said, and to create a life that makes sense for you.
I love this technique. I'm actually in this moment in my business where I'm feeling very, very vulnerable. So we're in like a growth phase and there's growing pains and I can feel it. Like it's like tingles in my arms and my hands. And the reality is, there's a limbo kind of feeling that happens when you're in your business and you're like, where you're heading, but you're in process, but you're not there yet. So this limbo is really uncomfortable. I feel very, very vulnerable. I feel very like naked in the world in a sense. And I have been sort of like just checking in with myself on this. Yeah. This isn't even like a bucket system thing. This is just like, I feel weird. I'm vibrating a little bit, and I think all I can do is just honor that that's the fact. I don't think that there's much more I can do about it. This is the reality. I'm going to keep taking my steps forward, but I love this idea of this twice a day check-in to be able to evaluate these things.
Yes, that's great. And it is interesting. So when we are in this time in our life when things can become so overwhelming, that flux, the unknown, because we've done really well, we know what this is, but then all of a sudden, then what's coming up, we're like, oh, I don't know. But what's really cool though, is I think if we look at the sense of when did I feel this certain feeling before? So if I feel in limbo before, what did I do in my past that helped me work through it? And what did I do in my past that did not help me work through it? So then it's plug and play. Well, let me do what worked and avoid what didn't work before. But it's so exciting. So congratulations for the success of your company.
Thank you. It's such a fun adventure. For sure, many years ago, it was not a fun adventure. I would be crying, I definitely shed a lot of tears. I didn't have a toolbox, for this. Honestly, this is building a business is it's so deeply personal, right? It feels really intense because it's so tied to who you are. And there's just so many levels of humanness at play here. But, I spend a lot of time at work. I spend a lot of time on the podcast as a mom, as a wife. But I feel like with all these things, what I'm actually spending the most time on is working on me, like growing me, evolving me.
Well, speaking of that, how do you say no, or how do you allow yourself to say no?
I just say no. No, I think I say, James, I think I say no, thank you.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think it kind of goes back to the bucket system. Like, what are my priorities in this moment? What are the things I really need? What's the fuel I need? And I don't think I spent a lot of time feeling guilty about that.
Good.
I also have team members that I want them to get exposure to some of the things I've experienced. So I'm really happy when an opportunity comes along that I don't want to take for myself. I actually want to give it to a team member to give them that kind of exposure and learning. So I think that I just became accustomed to doing things my own way. And with that, there wasn't really a lot of guilt attached to saying no, thank you.
Wow, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And I think because sometimes people think they have to say yes to everything, and learning how to set those boundaries for ourselves to say, yes, I can do this, but just because I can doesn't mean I should. And so therefore I want to say intentional about where the direction is in my life should go. What's next for you?
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess working through this limbo. So maybe the next time I talk to you, I'll be on the other side. What I love about the work I get to do with my team is we're proving every day that you can have ambitious growth and be an ambitious, high-performing team that works with kindness and respect through everything we do. So, we've all have horror stories of places we've worked and people we've worked with. And this is my mission. This is with my hypothesis 15 years ago. Like, I can do this, but I'm going to do it with kindness and respect. And we prove that, that's the expectation on the team, that they all move through the work with kindness and respect. That's expectation of our clients, our vendors, our partners. And, little by little, we're chipping away at, this old stuff that some people still come to work with, which is ego, a sense of cruelness because they were treated poorly, and this sense of like they need to dominate their team in a way that makes them feel good, but their team feel not good. So I'm proud of this. This is really, aside from creating needle moving marketing, this is our purpose.
Yes, and I think not only that, but you're creating this system, and so you're pruning it as it needs to be pruned based off of kindness. So as you're kind to someone, to point out how perhaps their interactions with others could just be they weren't paying attention, but it is good to be able to create a cultural norm where people can be able to appreciate everyone's the likeness and also their differences. And so I think that's one thing that makes up so many fantastic teams. It's the differences that so many people have, because in those differences creates the creativity and creates the dialogue to be able to have something completely different than they would have had should everybody be the same.
Yeah, James, well put.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Is another book in store for you?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So this one, I wrote Facing the Seduction of Success with Jan Michelle, who's a copywriter on my team, and she's an impeccable researcher, and she's so detailed. And it was very fun to do this with her. I could not have done it alone. I would have. I'm not kind of a person who needs pushing. I kind of get stuck sometimes. So having Jan as a partner, and she's fastidious with the details. It's like amazing. So Jan, myself, and our COO, Eleni, are talking about what's next. And I think it's really going to be more focused on the Base Beauty business in terms of creating a guidebook on how to build a business like ours, one that is, really truly governed by kindness and respect. And it impacts the way we hire. It impacts our philosophy on remote work, which we've been doing for 15 years, by the way. So it's been a long legacy of that, and a lot of experiences and highs and lows and learnings. And, how we put all these pieces together. Some of this at the agency is written down. Some of it is just kind of like in the air, and it's really time to, put it down on paper and hand this off to other people so they can find their way.
Wow. Well, Jodi Katz, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show today. If my viewers and listeners want to find out more information about you, to purchase your book, one more time, Facing the Seduction of Success, inspiring stories on leading in business while living your life, and also listening to your podcast and everything else you do, where will they find all this information online?
So the podcast is called Where Brains Meet Beauty, and you can find that everywhere you can find your favorite podcast. And the book is on Amazon.
Wonderful. My viewers and listeners also know that if I can't find this information any other place, simply go to the show notes at jamesmillerlifeology.com, and I'll link you with all of Jodi Katz's information. Thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today.
Thanks, James.